Hey everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody. I am here today with the 6th layout using my Citrus Twist kit, and today I have a Project Life spread for you guys. This one took me a little bit to do, and I think partially it was because I was doing a couple other things at the same time. But I really like the way that this one turned out in the end. So I'm actually only using 3 photos, which is a little uncommon for me. Usually I have more than just 3 photos. I have one 4x6 and then 2 3x4 photos that I'll be using. And so I had purchased the extra cards, or I think they were called the Waverly cards to go with this kit, I think is what they're called. So and they were just a coordinating element to the kit. They did not come in the scrapbook kit itself, but I purchased them as an add-on, and so I really wanted to make sure that I made at least one Project Life spread with these cards, and then I also incorporated them in my regular scrapbooking as well. So I've just got everything kind of laid out here first, how I plan to use it. And I'm going to be using my standard white 4x6 cards in the 4x6 pockets, and then the colored or decorative cards in the 3x4 pockets. I just like having that white border around the outside of my 4x6 cards. I feel like it adds a bit of consistency throughout the layouts, and it also gives me some white space. Sometimes I feel like if I have too many patterned cards, it just doesn't look right, and I feel like it just almost gets too busy. So I apologize for a little bit of the shaking. Every time I pull out my trimmer, it shakes the camera a little bit. I've got to figure out how to make it a little bit more steady for you guys. But so far, I mean, it's working okay. I'm just cutting up a few of the pattern papers that I do have and making the 4x6 pocket, since I did not have a pattern or a 4x6 card to go there. I really like that triangle paper. It's kind of a very subtle color, I guess you could say. I mean, it's got more pastel-y colors in it. Pastel-y, whatever it is. Has more pastel colors in it, so it's not quite as bold. And then I'm using my standard LE Studio calendar card on this card. I used those a lot in 2015, and I'm probably going to be using them a lot in 2016 as well. I had a little bit of this book paper left, and so I just ripped the edges so there are the 3 sides that you can see are kind of ripped. I just like the roughness of that. It's not too terribly rough, but I just like the way that it looks. And then I'm also layering a little bit of washi tape as well on the bottom of this card. I really had fun with this layout, just kind of decorating everything. I didn't really have any plans when I started it out. I just liked the I just really liked playing with the kit with the things that I had left, and then just kind of figuring out what goes well. I will add just a very few things to this kit to make this layout. Not much. Mostly I'm going to add some twine. I'm also going to add some mini alpha letters. I'm going to add that, of course you already saw the Project Life card from LE Studio, the November 2015 calendar card. And then I'm also going to add some ink to be able to finish out this layout. So other than that, though, everything came in the kit and then those Waverly cards, as I mentioned. I'm pretty positive they're called Waverly. I hope they're called Waverly, because that's what I'm calling them. And these are those micro mini alphas from Kaisercraft, and I'm just writing November Fall Fun. And then I've got the fun in the thickers or the chipboard letters that came in the kit. It's that pink and gold alpha that you see sitting there. Since I already had November on the card, I didn't really need to spell out November with those large letters, so I just put fun. And then, like I said, it says November Fall Fun. Now I'm pretty much going to finish up this card. However, at the very end, I'm going to go back and add something a little bit different. And you'll see, this is something I don't do ever typically, so you'll see what I'm talking about when I get there. Coming down to the very bottom here and working on this card, I'm using another little bit of that book paper to put as a layer behind this photo. Since I didn't have any other real pattern paper that I wanted to use, I'm using this book paper kind of as a pattern paper. And these photos down here at the bottom are Thanksgiving, or the Thanksgiving feast at Kaylin's preschool. So there's a lot of browns and neutrals down here. So the color scheme of this entire layout is very soft and kind of neutral almost. It's got, of course, the pops of pink, and it's got the teal colors in a few places. And you can see I'm using the washi tape to kind of bring those colors in as well. But other than that, it's very subtle. There's not a whole lot of really dark or bright or bold colors. It's just very easy on the eyes, and I really kind of like that. I love my fair share of, and I have my fair share of bright colored layouts, but I kind of like a subtle one every once in a while. Just kind of flipping through the die cuts to see what I want to include where. I like to kind of do this at some point in doing the Project Life spread and just kind of lay out different elements I want on different cards, and then before I actually glue much of it down. It just kind of helps me distribute the elements across the page. I'm not one of those scrapbookers that can do one card at a time. I have to see the whole thing together. I just can't do part of it at a time. I have to do the whole thing because it just helps me create balance across the page. And I also don't stick to one card at a time. As you can see, I go from card to card to card. I don't stick in one area. Now this blue teal colored card down here says My Illustrated Life, and then we're going to add some stamping on there with the stamp set. But I wanted to pull in a little bit of that peachy pink color, so I had a scrap that was sitting there that I just layered right there under the photo, and it's just the slightest hint of that color, but I really like just the pop of color it adds. And then the tab that I layered under the photo says Bundle Up. And then this photo, okay, so the photo on the right is of Kaylin sitting there at the breakfast feast, the Thanksgiving breakfast feast at his preschool. And then they each made like the little headbands with the feathers on it, and then they each had a vest. And they named themselves, they came up with their own little names, and he was, which is what the left photo is, their vests were made out of paper bags, like paper grocery bags, and they painted them. And then the back of each vest had their names on it. So Kaylin's name was Great White Shark, and then he drew a shark on the back. And then I'm just writing out what his name is. So I used the little piece that I cut off of that LA Studio 3x4 card, and it was just a little section that said special notes, and you were able to write down your notes there. But since I needed it to be smaller than the 4-inch height, I had cut off that part. So I just used that as a banner or a flag on this card, and so it just says special notes, Kaylin's Thanksgiving feast vest. He named himself ... Great White Shark. And that's where I'm using these alphas, and these are again by Kaiser Craft. Just these are called their mini alphas, I believe. I think the other ones are called their micro mini alphas, and then these are the mini alphas, I believe. Not 100% sure though, but I think that's right. I like having these different size options whenever I'm creating titles and captions and things like that. I really like the Tim Holtz ones. But I ran out of like S's and T's and E's, I think. And I tried to use my white gel pen to alter some of the other letters, since it was like a white gel pen look on it, but it just didn't work out right. And then now I can't find them anywhere. I've looked multiple places, and they're just not selling them anymore. I don't know if they stopped making them or what, but those little Tim Holtz mini alphas just are not available from what I can find. I'm sure you could probably find them on eBay or potentially Amazon. Haven't looked there, but I've used the Kaiser Craft ones kind of as an alternative since I couldn't find those. And the Kaiser Craft ones are fairly inexpensive, especially if you buy them at a sale like these. I think I got some of them from my friend. Most of them were actually from my friend. And then I picked up 1 or 2 sets at a Joann's sale online. It's when they had free shipping. And then I think most craft supplies or most scrapbooking supplies were like 50% off. So I picked up a couple things during that one. I added a few of those puffy stickers, and I'm going to spread those throughout the whole page. I've got stars and hearts going on throughout this page. Just adding my journaling over here, and that cream colored sticker there says that time of year. And so I'm just adding my journaling, and it says, every year the preschool hosts a Thanksgiving feast breakfast for the children and parents. This year the kids came dressed as little Indians, complete with vest and headpieces. And I'm just writing. My journaling was a little bit longer than what I had anticipated it to be. And so there was like a little caption area at the bottom. So I just went ahead and wrote over that and then added my lines. And it looks like it just continues to flow. You can't even really tell the background of that card. Alright, so I have a little bit of washi that I'm going to layer on top of this top photo. Now the photo is obviously very dark, and when I put that washi tape on top of it, it just lost its color completely. So I layered it on a piece of white cardstock that I had, and I'm doing the same with this pink one as well that's going to go up here. And then because I had layered it on top of the white cardstock, I just trimmed the cardstock from around it, and then I ripped the edges or the ends to make it look like it still had that washi tape ripped look to it. And then I'm layering just this other banner that says notes. Very simple. And then there was this one die cut that said watching, and this is exactly what the kids are doing in this photo. They're watching the iPad. So I'm going to use these white micro mini tiles from Kaiser Craft to put iPad watching. We were just at dinner with some friends, and the kids were all watching a video on the iPad. It's kind of a blurry photo, but I think it was kind of cute of Kalen and his little buddies watching it. Alright, so I've got kind of the top row and the bottom row done, and now all I have left to work on is the middle row, which are the 3x4 cards. And I will trim these cards down and also round the corners. I like to round the corners, but only of the middle row. I just don't like seeing the backs of the other cards that are in the opposite side of the pocket from them, which is why I choose to do that. I did stamp that stamp on that My Illustrated Life card, as I mentioned before, and it just says tells a story. So My Illustrated Life tells a story is what that card says. I found this stamp set very versatile. I felt like it had a lot of really nice phrases in it that you could use in a lot of different ways. I do have a bunch of die cuts, as you see, already laid out here, but those are going to get moved around a little bit here and there. I have just a basic idea in this middle row, but I didn't have any details done. So this is where, whenever I'm first starting out the layout, I like to just kind of roughly lay everything out, and then I'll go back and add the detail. This is what I was mentioning, the trimming. I just use a regular Project Life card from a Becky Higgins core kit that I have already. I think that one's from My Favorite Things. I just pick out one, and I trim all of my 3x4 cards to match that. It just helps when it's trying to fit it into a page protector. And then it also just helps that you don't always, by having them all the same size from the very beginning, you don't have to worry about the card on the other side peeping through. Now, sometimes it will, of course, especially if they shift a little bit in the pockets, but this really greatly reduces the likelihood of you being able to see the card on the opposite side. Again, no like major deal, but it's like one of those weird quirky things that I don't like myself. All right, this first card to the left, and it's kind of hard to tell in the video here, which you should be able to see it in the still shots at the end or on my blog, but the first card to the left is a very pale teal colored card, and it's got some like peachy pink colored hearts all over it. The second card from the left is a grid pattern. It's just a grid white cardstock with a grid pattern on it. It has a little bit of like misting in the corners. Then the third one here, which is what I'm working on now, has a like an orangey peach colored background with some blue on it, blue detailing, and then the middle part is white, and it just says we ate this, location and date. And this is actually where we ate dinner. So Bad Daddy's is what the place is called, and so I didn't have enough room to put the S, so I just put Bad Daddy. And then I'm going to use some of this Kaiser Craft tile alphas again to put Fave Place. And this is just referencing the photo of the kids up at the top watching the iPad. Now I will go back and reinforce all of these letters. They just don't stick very well, and I don't want to have them fall off my card a couple minutes down the road and be sitting at the bottom of that pocket. I'm keeping this one fairly simple, but I am going to use those Kaiser Craft alphas like I mentioned before to put fave place right above the caption that says "We ate this." And as you see, I have them sitting out right there. And when I'm placing these down, I really prefer to use my tweezers. It's just a little bit easier to get them lined up, because when I put them on my finger, they end up getting stuck to my finger and they move when I pull my finger away and all that stuff. But on these tweezers, it's really helpful to have them and use them for placement. Not completely necessary, of course, but I just find it very helpful to use them. And I like the contrast of these black and white Kaiser Craft tile alphas with the pink and gold chipboard alphas that say Bad Daddy. Just finishing up this card, and then I'll move on to the next one. As you can see, it feels like I'm a little bit choppy in what I'm doing, because I believe I keep turning around and talking to Kaylin as I do this layout. I'm not 100% sure, because I did this over a week ago. But I believe that's what I was doing. If I scrapbook during the day, usually he's in the room with me, unless he's at school. But I usually don't scrapbook while he's at school. I normally scrapbook in the evenings or on the weekends. And so I've been doing a lot of scrapbooking here on the weekends recently. And the evenings are more around like homework for Kalen and making his lunch for the next day and cooking or cleaning or washing laundry or something like that. I always seem to find a billion things to do on the evenings. But thankfully, the weekends, I usually have some free time to be able to scrapbook, and I'll get a couple pages done, kind of to give me a lot to work with throughout the week. Alright, so this card, I just used the die cut that said A is for amazing, and then I had that, I think that's a hexagon that says love, and so I just layered this on top of each other here. And I will be using a few of the puffy hearts on this card, and then that will pretty much finish this one. That first one also says make today ridiculously amazing, and that's that card all the way to the left. It's just another filler card. I had 3 filler cards in this row, but since I only had 3 photos total overall, I had plenty of space to do my journaling, so I didn't need to use these really as journaling cards. I'm just using them as decorative 3x4 filler cards. That's pretty much it. So we're actually kind of nearing the end of the layout, but I have a little bit more work to do with that top left card that says November 2015. And this is where I was kind of figuring out what I'm going to do, because I knew I wanted to do something up here. But in order to kind of figure out what I was going to do, I needed to figure out what side of the pocket this page was going to be. And I decided to go ahead and tackle these tassels, and they are so incredibly cute. And since this layout was had more muted colors, I felt like the tassels would really stand out, and obviously they will, as you can see, but I've got to figure out how to attach them. I don't want to put them in the page protector because I feel like it's going to take away from their movement, and it's also going to make my page protector extremely bulky. So what I'm going to do is attach these to the card itself, then attach the card to the front of the page protector. I didn't want to enclose the page or the pocket. I wanted to make sure that it was kind of open so I could use the opposite side of that pocket, but I also wanted to make sure that these tassels were stuck down. I wasn't going to have any problems with them falling off. So I'm going to use a bit of this pink and white twine, and what I'm going to do is actually kind of knot the twine around each of the tassels, just making sure I leave a similar amount of space between the tassels. So I'm just lacing the tassel onto the pocket and then just knotting it at the top. So this will keep it to where all 3 of the tassels kind of have the similar spacing between them. And I've got them lined up, the peach one, the teal one, and then the pink one. I was trying to keep the pink and the peach one apart from each other, just so they didn't blend in quite so easily. And that's exactly how this is going to look. So I take a little bit of washi tape and I adhere it onto the back with the tassels. With the twine. But I felt like the tassels and the twine and everything just kind of hangs around. And I still hadn't figured out how I'm going to put it on the pocket to where it doesn't have such bulk. So I end up deciding to just layer it on the outside of the pocket. And you'll see here in just a second when I kind of figure that out. That's where I decided, okay, I want to put it on the outside of the pocket. However, before I do that, I want to do a little bit of stitching on this card, and that is to stitch across the top of the twine to kind of hold the banners or the tassels down on the front of the card. And then I will go ahead and adhere it to the front of the pocket, and that pretty much finishes it off. At the end, you will see still shots, and you'll be able to see that just a little bit better. I'm over at my sewing machine now, which is on the side of my desk, which is why I grabbed that from the side. But I'm just stitching along the very top of that card just to adhere the the twine down, as you can see right here. The back of this card is not pretty at all, but it's not about the back of the card. And then there we go. That finishes out the layout. I'm very, very pleased with how this layout turned out. I really like the colors. I really like the products, and I feel like I could have done a lot more Project Life pages if I had more cards to work with, but I don't. And so we're going to move on and see what else I can create with this kit. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys had a great afternoon and happy scrapping. Bye.